guy in the group these days.
Recording lights on.
No worries. Don't say anything too incriminating now, guys.
So, I'm just happy to be here.
Ken Scott, I went to your website, saw the different configurations and structure of your booths. It was interesting. Alex, we'll be
I like the tunnel.
Yeah, well, they're great talking points to give you an idea of the scope of Kent's work. Is that what you sell, Kent?
Yes, photo booths in general, sure.
Right, but the models that were on your webpage with a dome and then a tube and then a tunnel.
Yes.
Cool.
We're trying to, we try to cover whatever the customer needs, and we are working on a smaller dealer booth. If you go to our site, I think you'll get the impression that all we do is real big, elaborate stuff, which is good because we bring that to the party, and we bring that to the small dealer too. But yeah, we try to cover all the gamut. We're like a dealership. We try to have something for everybody.
It's necessary to interrupt. We're running out of time. Alex, will you be able to queue up his some of the works that he's got?
Yeah, I think Jeff's got a lot of that.
Yeah, I've got one here with photos. You sent them over in a
on Ken's website are some of the different configurations.
There's some on the website.
Yep.
I also sent some pictures yesterday.
Yeah, I've got the website pulled up.
Yeah, some of those photos I think were a little small for being able to share.
Well, and they weren't they were in pages.
Almost prime time, boys.
Yeah. Well, but Jeff's working on that.
We've got
Joe, I did the go live job a few shows ago and got a taste of how fragile that system is. I feel for Jeff every time he does this now.
It's fun.
He's got to be quick about it.
It's just fun.
By the way, I did give Zoom a bit of hell about that, so that was another.
Oh yeah, what they say?
Look into. They said this first they heard of it, so. Right. First that girl heard of it. Right.
Come on now. There's lying and then there's just lying. Let's see. All right.
Oh, wait, Kent, how many cars in 2019 or brand new cars in 2019 do you think you can get a manual transmission in?
I think there's maybe just one.
Yeah.
It's actually 22.
No kidding.
Yep. So, and the Porsche holds the list.
Here's a question for that. How many valet parkers, when you pull up at the nice restaurant, know how to drive that car and park it?
Well, depends on the restaurant.
Yeah, and we're not live yet. So we've got a older gentleman that is our lot manager, per se. He's 60 plus. Guess what?
That's a good thing he works at Mercedes then.
He can't drive a shift.
Wow.
Like, are you kidding me? You're kidding me, right?
That's, what, Mercedes didn't have a single car on the list, so he's good.
We get it. Yeah, true, but we get some trade-ins from time to time.
Right.
Some older ones, but yeah, it's never been it's really never been a thing for Benz.
I was surprised in flying through the list that Porsche no longer offers the turbo or the GT3 in a stick.
Really?
Yeah.
It's a sin.
It is.
It's a true sin.
Hopefully it's not all versions of the turbo, because that's got to be my garage queen one day. be the Targa.
All right, where do we go for going live? What the hell? Unable. Okay, that's fine. right, let's give this another shot. One more shot.
You guys
Something
like this
happening?
better than Skype, huh?
Oh, for
It seems much better for this.
yes. I don't think you can broadcast live conferences through Skype.
I think you're right.
So
This is a neat setup. I really think it's very valuable.
I think we're trying to build upon. We're getting there. Share on a page you manage. Okay. Come on.
the longer this takes, the deeper I get into a Facebook distraction here.
Don't let it get you too far.
Yeah, it's too many things here. It just grabbed my attention. The algorithms are working.
One browser. I'm like really dark today. All right. And here we go. Where is, oh, here we go. My memory is just sucking today. All right, refresh Friday. Friday. Kent. And Mr. Joe, PIS.
Hey, Joe, what's your first project on the new job?
Whoa.
Congrats again, by the way.
Yes.
Thank you, gents. Auto-corrected.
There we go.
Yep. Then I got a bunch of ideas in the cooker. Fighting for bandwidth.
You got what in the cooker?
Bunch of ideas.
I never would have guessed that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be introducing a boatload of interesting ideas over the coming 24 months.
Joe, when don't you have about 1,000 ideas in the
It's a blessing and a curse all at the same time.
No doubt about it. I believe it. Well, guys, we are live.
Oh, we're live. Hi.
Yeah, we are live. So,
Great.
This wonderful Friday. At least it's wonderful here. That's for sure. Here in Maryland.
Well, it's kind of rainy here.
No, it's beautiful blue skies. It's everything. You couldn't ask for a nicer day. The only thing that I would ask for would be a beverage in my hand laying by a pool. That would
With a small umbrella in it.
Yep. There you go. Yeah. Some
Tourist
politically
beverage.
correct.
No, or a big square ice cube that almost takes up the whole glass. Yeah.
So, anyone watching us today, of course, Eric, man, we keep growing and growing. Every time we have a new Refresh Friday, I think we increase about 10, 15, 20, maybe 120%. I don't know what it is. Typically depends on the topic. But today, we've got Mr. Joe Pistell. Thank you so much, Joe. It's been a while. What have you been up to?
I'm now head of marketplace at cars.com. Alex Vetter brought me on board, and I fell in love with what they're doing.
Yeah.
And my job is to bring the dealer's voice inside the organization.
Look at you becoming one of those corporate guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great.
I enjoy it.
I can only imagine the fun and the relationship you and Alex Vetter have built over the past few years. So I'm sure that's exciting. And one of those jobs you just get up every morning and you're like, let's get the day started.
I like to end my meetings with, okay, now let's go sell some cars.
Take it back old school. And then, of course, we've got Kent. Kent, you and I, we've been speaking for quite a few years, sort of on and off, secretively, an email here, an email there, a text message there, a text message, out of
Old McDonald had a farm.
Yeah.
Well, I've been begging to get on this show. You guys are my favorite TV personalities.
I'm not sure about the personality part, but we definitely appreciate it. So, what prompted it was a while ago. I don't know how long ago. We had posted an article. Well, really, we started a thread over in DealerRefresh forums, which is. It's titled "Setting Up a Third." It's titled "Setting Up a Photo Booth."
Okay.
And we started this thread. Matt DeCampo, which I haven't seen Matt around for a while. I'm not sure if he's truly active in the forums anymore. I could probably do a quick click here just to see what's up. He's been a member since 2009, and he was last seen missing in action in 2015. So I'm going to have to do a little bit of research to see where Matt is, but he started this thread, and I'll just do a quick share of this wonderful, long-lasting thread.
Okay.
At least I was going to, but for some reason.
Anybody knows Matt DeCampo, share this link with him. He'll get a kick out.
Yeah, please do.
So it looks like he's a sales manager at Mercedes-Benz of Chantilly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
He's too busy for us anymore.
Yeah. That happens quite often, and it pisses me off. I won't get into it. But anyways, he started this thread quite a while ago.
All right.
And this was, when was this? Well, December 16th of 2009. And as I scroll down, if you can see, we have got over 20 pages, 185 more messages. So almost 200 messages around photo booths, implementing photo booths, questions, do's, don'ts, best practices, all that good stuff. If I'm not mistaken, at one point, Kent, you saw this. You reached out to me. That was probably back in 2000, whenever.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Yeah. And that's sort of, after all this time, now we've decided to do a Refresh Friday around this. So
good.
So,
I'm here to answer. I hope I can answer all the questions accurately. And if what I can't, you can just send me an email and ask.
Well, since 2011 to 2019, you've had more than enough time to be able to answer all these questions, Ken. So no excuses, my friend. No excuses. But give us a little bit of lowdown. What got you into designing, implementing, and installing photo booths for car dealerships?
Pretty simple answer to that. We were a supplier to the big three purely on a photographic basis for catalogs, print, and advertising. In fact, for almost 5 years.
So you're located up around the Michigan area?
Yeah, we're in Detroit. We're outside of Detroit in Troy, Michigan.
All right, makes sense.
So, in fact, at one point for almost 5 years, we provided GMC, Pontiac, and Cadillac with images for what they call Asset Central.
Okay.
The dealers could pull those. We would shoot 4 views of every vehicle they made in every trim level, in every color.
So that was your work I was looking at.
Yes, it was.
Wow.
I hope you liked it.
Yeah, it's cool.
The owner of the company was contacted. Davo Photographic was our company then. And we were contacted by Ernie Garcia of Carvana, I'm going to say 5 years ago, asking, he saw the website, he saw what we were doing, photographically with automobiles, and wanted to replicate that for his new idea of remarketing used cars.
Mm-hmm.
So we obliged him by coming up with a design and a process, and that's how we got into it. That's the initial way we got into it.
So it's all Carvana's fault.
Yes. A lot of dealers are saying that right now. But they really have nothing to worry about. How that's working is not going to affect the single dealers.
No,
That's how we got involved. We were an automotive photography company. So, and I guess I would say that what we bring to the party is a photographic style and lighting background.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of our competitors and other people who build booths come from a technical background. So we feel we have an edge if what you're looking for is, and what we believe is the right way to go, and that is quality pictures, quick and controllable on your website.
What about video and photos? And what I mean by that is there's been a lot of studies out there showing, and these are older studies, and if I'm not mistaken, Dealer.com was one of the first to put the study out there, and was saying, hey, if you have actual videos of your inventory on your dealership website, it will increase conversion by an additional X%. From my experience, I don't really know if that's necessarily true. Are videos more engaging? Yes. I went through the whole, setting. We don't have a photo booth here. We'd love to have one, but we do have a decent delivery center. Lighting could be a lot better. But I went through, I got the gamble, I got a great camera. I've got the app for the iPhone that allowed us to do the walk around videos versus taking the images and just stitching them together. And ran that for a good year and did some testing, was watching a lot of the data, and at the end of the day, I was like, did this really make a difference between just great photos and a good video? What would you say? What do you think the outcome was?
There is several studies and several opinions on what keeps people on the website longer.
Yeah.
And what to me is more important is what gets a warm body in the showroom or will pull the trigger and buy the car. I don't have much of an opinion on that other than I like high-res, crisp pictures, especially in a used car, so you can really see it. And I don't see that with video.
Agreed.
That would be my opinion.
Agreed.
Now, we do offer a service where you can do a 360 of the interior. Think of it as a video. It's not a Panascan camera anymore because we've upgraded that. And for Carvana, we do a 360 interior for them. So you can take a tour and look around. And it's high res.
Yeah. Carvana's is slick. Yeah, I like
there's no doubt.
They pinpoint different parts of the photo with descriptions, and if there's a scratch on the car, they showed that. These are valuable.
They sell honesty. Their whole thing is honesty, and with a 7-day return. That's a pretty cool deal.
Yeah. Gotta admit, I think any dealer would want to replicate what they're doing.
Yeah, I've always found that dealerships in general, there's one thing they hate to do, and that's rewind a deal.
Of course, yeah.
Just do not want to rewind that deal.
Same with any vendor.
Yeah, that's a check mark up on the board, and we've got a 5-day return policy here. The truth is, most consumers really don't take advantage of it. They've most of them have done the research. They see the vehicle that they like or think they like. They come into the dealership. If that's the vehicle that they end up deciding on, it's what they move forward with. And 9 times out of 10, they're not going to return the vehicle unless there's an actual issue with the car. And if you're purchasing a vehicle from a reliable dealership, reliable service such as Carvana, I just don't see people returning too many vehicles within that 7-day grace period. I could be wrong. Joe, what did you guys offer at Used Car King, did you ever have people returning vehicles over within that period that maybe they were allowed to?
Used Car King's policy of accepting returned vehicles just happened recently. So I'm out of the loop on that one.
Okay.
From what I heard, it sounds the same, that it's not very often.
Yeah.
But what really happens is something that the industry, what shoppers expect now with a Prime, just the unconditional ability to return an item for any reason. And what happens is that when a shopper has no risk in a purchase, they do less diligence. They're quicker to a decision. And,
True.
And I think that's a big advantage for car dealers. Once they embrace it, they realize that sales are easier, faster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And happen.
And like I said, I do believe that most people, they just, they don't take advantage. It's a great why buy for me message. There's no doubt about it.
So I'd like to ask Ken, if you don't mind.
Sure.
No, we do mind, Joe.
Nah, the story, the Carvana story. They reached out to you. You must have come up with a vision of how awesome it could be. And how long did it take from start to first photo? Were you doing new groundbreaking things?
Absolutely.
There you go.
Well, yes. I mean, we were condensing what normally took a full day to shoot a beautiful picture of a car with several exposures put together to make a wonderful picture, condensing that into, say, 36 of those in one day. Now, there's some fundamentals with this about lighting and horizon lines, and if you think of a car, it's a reflective mirror.
Yeah.
So we knew how to get and how to keep windshields clean and horizon lines beautiful. So we were not necessarily breaking new ground, but we were figuring out a new way to do it quick.
So I would like to just let me just 1 second, Alex. For anybody that thinks they want to build their own photo booth, what that little paragraph or two that Kent just said, I went through it, and cars are a mirror. And you think building a photo booth, well, what's the big deal? To hang some fluorescents, throw up some curtains.
Exactly. That's what everybody thinks.
Well, I was there, and I went through version 1, version 2, version 3. It is what a waste of time.
God, am I happy to hear that.
You're
been reading my mail. I've been trying to tell that to dealers forever.
What makes
you're both hitting on something that is should be considered, and maybe we can give a little advice here on just the pure photography aspect of things, even for the dealers who aren't using a photo booth.
Right.
That's gold. Understanding that the car is a mirror, and all you have to do is look at a few pictures of some cars and see all the things reflected in it to realize that. But when it comes to lighting, especially outdoor lighting, you want to diffuse light.
Absolutely.
So in a photo,
often.
Yeah. So when the sun is high and you've got very bright light, you think, oh, let me grab the camera. This is the perfect time to take photos.
It's not.
It's actually the worst time.
Yeah, exactly.
The best time is when it's very cloudy and.
Yeah. Well, yeah, cloudy is nice diffused light. But, we spent years in Palm Springs, California, shooting cars for catalogs. And we worked 7 days a week, but our real work was between sunset and complete darkness. All our exposures were after the sun hit just on the other side of the mountain, so that now there is no direct light. You've got a huge, beautiful dome of warm light, and that's what we try to recreate in our domes. Very, very even light.
Yeah, it's not easy to do.
Well, there's no doubt about that. We spent 30 years learning it. So
now you said you had another term, and I think it's worth defining for our listeners.
Sure.
You talk about horizon lines. So, do you mind defining that for people so they understand what that means?
I guess if you open up a catalog or look at a national ad in a magazine, print, if there is still any print left in the world, when you look at the side of a car, you'll see a line down the side, and depending on how high you go up, stand up or get on a ladder, or how low you go down, the horizon line will move a little bit. But basically, if you look at the side of a car, there's a plane down the side of the car that reflects the sky, and there's a plane down the side of the car that reflects whatever's on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so the horizon line is literally the horizon of the earth on the side of the car.
And if that thing's crooked,
you can actually control it, and you can actually control it if you know how to do it. You can control it so it highlights design features on the side of the car, like openings in wheel wells or the edges of wheel wells, or the sail panel behind the windows. So yeah, it's very controllable, but outside it's very controllable for a very short time.
Right.
And that's where the booth comes in. It's 24 hours a day if you want it.
Yeah, and every day of the year is always the same. So if you're like I was sold on booths as a New Englander now. And right now we still go on some dealer websites and you see snow, and it's
right.
like that's an old car, and you'll know.
Well, if you see it on the website, in May, if you see it with snow on it, you're wondering why it's there, because and that's what happens in all of the Midwest and in Canada. They don't have a very, very big window and very few days of ideal lighting. And if you got 60 cars to shoot, you can't shoot them in the last 30 minutes of sunlight.
No dealer goes through that now. No. They'd have to have a photo booth to control the lighting. When I was outdoors, it was direct light was the enemy, and we used to shoot the interior shots. We'd have a spot we found behind the building that had shadow.
Mm-hmm.
And we would use that, but it was, the rainy days are a difficulty, sunny days are a difficulty, and then you got to find a spot outdoors that does not show any change of the seasons.
That part's impossible unless you have a booth.
Well, that's where a booth comes in. It can literally operate 24 hours a day, and the light is always the same. Yeah.
And I appreciate you both going through some of the basics here. I think, and anyone who's listening saying, "Well, man, I know all this." We're going to get into the breadth of things in a little bit. Just want to make sure we cover some of the bases for some of the people who might not be as knowledgeable as others. But anyway,
are we going to a commercial break now?
Yeah, can we do that? Should we do a Cars.com ad for Joe?
We don't have this set up yet, I don't think. We thought about that. I've gone back and forth. Do we do commercial breaks? Maybe we just do that in the podcast version, which we've neglected to fulfill. But boy, do we have one hell of a back catalog that we need to get converted over to podcasts. I'm going to start with the latest and move backwards here. It might end up being a 6-month project, but we'll get it done.
That's funny timing. You say that, Jeff. Ryan Thompson's basically coming in the comments saying the exact same thing. So
yeah, he does it every week.
Yeah.
Do we have a podcast version of this, Jeff? I just can't drive and watch this, and it's only something now. But he's right. He's right. We definitely need to do convert these over to podcasts. It wouldn't be difficult at all. Just
there's the commercial break.
Time. There we go.
Either we need some more sponsors to help out with some resources and get some of those things done, or
there you go, for sure.
Yeah. Or we can start a Patreon page, and maybe Ryan would be the first to send us there.
Or a GoFundMe. I don't know. I don't know how all those things work. So we talk about booths and we talk about outside. I know for us, we have a decent delivery center, can hold up to 4 or 5 cars. if parked strategically accurate or strategically right. In general, it's for vehicles. I use that as a photo booth during the winter months, just because then I don't have to deal with the weather. But I will tell you, on a day like today where the sun is beautiful, there's not a lot of clouds, where I'm able to shoot if I hit during the right part of the day, there's very little to zero shadows. And I tell you, those photos come out better looking. And I don't want to say better looking than any photo booth, because I'm positive there's photo booths, especially with you guys' photo booths, that would just dominate the outside. But there's a lot of dealerships out there that, they don't have the real estate to add a big booth. We can get into that here.
Common tail, yep.
Yep, we can get into that. And there's ones that, you're just so limited with space. Maybe the dealership doesn't see the worth in investing in a photo booth. So during the summer months, I find myself taking the photos outside. I try to do it within a certain amount of time. We've got an area that I guess gives us a little bit of a decent background. And if I can get it at the right time, there's really no shadows. And I look at those photos and I'm like, man, those photos turn out just so much better than any of the photo shoots that I do in the delivery booth. Now, with that being said, I know for a fact that we could do and add some lighting and such to the delivery bay. That would probably make me eat some of my words with that. But how do you feel about that? Dealerships that they've got the opportunity to take things outside versus building a delivery booth.
Jeff, it's a term I'm not familiar with. Delivery booth, is that prep center? Is that like
we're a Benz dealership, so for compliance reasons, we've got to have an area that's of a certain size that so we're not delivering cars outside in snow. It's inside. It's a nice area. It's heated, air conditioned.
Okay, I got it.
Yep.
And you're asking my opinion on?
Yeah, I mean, outside, inside. If you are a dealership, let's say you're in sunny Florida, and you really don't have the shitty weather all the time, and you.
Oh yeah, no, I'd say between California, Florida, I mean, those dealers have an advantage. There's no doubt about it. It's the Midwest, Canada, and areas where we like you say, you have in those areas you have 2 days a week maybe that are clean and shootable, and the temperature is comfortable, and so on. Mm-hmm. Our whole thing is super consistency, clean pictures of the actual car for sale. That's what we do.
And that,
and they're always the same angle, always the same lighting. Mm-hmm. I mean, there's very consistency to us is everything. I like outdoor pictures, but also.
Yeah. So I've just real quick, I've brought up.
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see here is an inside because we've got the garage doors. Here's an outside.
And you're close to the car because you've got a wider angle lens.
Yeah. I definitely try to get up on the car. To me, it's all about the vehicle, not necessarily the surroundings.
Right.
Every now and then, if we get a really, really nice, maybe an SL or something like that, I'll sort of stick it in the background. It's a little bit of eye candy. But all in all, I really want to just focus on that particular vehicle. And of course, our internet connection here.
Hard to take a bad picture of a Mercedes.
Well, yeah. I tell you, I even think about that with our social presence, because I see a lot of dealerships struggle with their social presence, and I'm like, shit. All I need to do is just take some photos of some Mercedes Benz, and we get liked. So,
right.
But so here are some outside photos. I love the fact that we can get the sky. There's some glare every now and then, but I just find the photos.
Your interiors look good.
Oh
Yeah.
man, you're covering up the carpet or the vacuuming job. You guys put some beautiful lines in your.
Yeah.
Mobile one.
I'm a stickler. I want some nice vacuum lines. So, but then here's one that's on the inside. Not too bad. This is, I guess, I probably didn't get the best example.
Well, a white car you don't get much contrast.
True. But you know, I go back and forth. But all I do know is during the summer months, great weather, blue sky. I just find that I personally, I'm not, some hardcore photographer.
What is your volume like at your dealership? How many cars a day do you put online?
Well, that's the other thing. I feel, well, there's the fortunate part and the unfortunate part. We typically have about 60 used cars in stock, so it's not like we're one of those dealerships that has 200 or 300 used cars. I can't imagine what it would be like. I mean, talk about how do you become efficient, and that's where I really see a really a nice photo booth that's set up for almost efficiency alone. And if I'm not mistaken, you've got some type of solution around that we can get into.
Well, we currently have a small booth operating for the Suburban Collection, Troy, Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
I believe 22 dealers are using it now, and they are regularly every day putting 60 vehicles through that in an 8-hour shift and onto the website.
And that's exterior, interior.
Between 30 and 35 pictures, depending on the operator. That's with one operator.
Yeah.
And his discretion. There might be some why-buy features that they want to shoot or damage. Never damage because they fix everything before it goes into the booth. But yeah, they're putting 60 cars a day online.
How do you feel about that? Let's say it's a car, it's maybe a dealership that doesn't quite do the reconditioning. I mean, being a Benz dealership, a lot of our cars are CPO. We do need to recondition, pretty much everything. How do you feel about the dealerships that maybe aren't CPO? Maybe they are just a used car group and highlighting, maybe not so much a scratch, but, maybe there's a dent, maybe there's a ding, maybe there's a tear. And obviously it would make sense to get those things fixed. Sometimes we don't. Do you believe that it makes more sense to be transparent and take a close-up photo of those damaged areas?
Me personally?
Yeah.
Well, I think you've got an opportunity to show you put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
And honesty in a used car sale, I would believe, is be everything.
Agreed.
So if you want to show the scratches and so on, but I guess what does that do to the value of your inventory? I mean, great. I want to give them great pictures and make them think this car is almost new and ask the question, God, is that the car I'm buying? And is that brand new? Gosh, it looks great. Does that increase the value of your inventory? I would say probably. And yet, if you got some scratches, okay, or there's some wear on the carpeting on the floor, I would say you show it. Mm-hmm. And that's where the high-res pictures come in. You really see it. You can even zoom in on them and look at them real close and maybe see how much it's going to cost you to repair them.
Yeah, I've done that with a few of our off-makes. Maybe it's something that's, we had a Honda S2000 traded in. It had 67,000 miles on it. It was, I think, 12 years old. In great shape, but not flawless. And, I took a few close-up photos of the imperfections, and, I found out that the new owners really appreciate the fact that we did that.
I think it's extremely important, especially for repeat customers. You want to give them great experience with your dealer, right?
Well, I was at dealer.com. Carvana was the new kid on the block, and I did a deep dive into studying shoppers using the website. And I couldn't wait for the audience to come to the place to see that Carvana had highlighted the scratches, the dings.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, wait till they see this. And I was blown away. They all of the testers that came in all said, well, I know that regular car dealers just Photoshop the scratches. It's a used car. At least Carvana's honest. I went, oh my God. I told Stefan Prekup, I don't know if you're here. I called him up right after I found him like 5 years ago. Stefan, stop reconning. I'd highlight all the scratches and let the customer pay for it.
Where is Stefan? We haven't heard from Stefan for a while.
So
We'll have to hunt him down. We'll hunt him down.
Well, we're getting a slew of questions here about
What do we have, Alex?
whether photo booths sell more cars or make more money.
Ooh. Well, maybe we should rephrase
why is
that.
that an or question?
I mean, it's
Well,
sort of,
so we're sitting here selling the value of a photo booth, and why you would want.
I guess it also depends on how much that photo booth costs.
But if we're sitting here saying like, okay, and Kent, quick question to you: what's the most expensive booth you've ever built?
Over 400,000.
Okay, so we've got a range here.
Well, we sell them worldwide, so it's also the wow factor. And here's some companies really want to make an impression, and we're happy to accommodate that.
So could we say the entry level to a photo booth might be a few $1,000s, and then we've got the high side of 400,000, and obviously the quality between is vastly different.
There's a couple factors that enter into this. What's your volume and workflow? Like I say, I've got a booth that's running 60 vehicles a day. We could give you a booth that runs 20 vehicles a day.
Okay.
I would say the entry level would be $50,000 from us, up to over 4, and it all depends on your volume and your workflow. We have the drive-through booth, which I refer to as a car wash with surround sound cameras. That's a good visual, I think, with no water, of course. 12 views in 15 seconds, pretty much direct to the website. And I do want to bring up an important part of this. Asset management, when you're shooting 1,800 or 3,000 pictures a day, is paramount. And our software handles that easily. So we track, this is another part, the operator who's operating the booth passes a wand over the VIN number, an RFQ, or a barcode, if that's how you're tracking your imagery. It's all automatic, and so you can really manage all those assets. Very important.
Wow, that's nice.
So back when I was doing this at Checkered Flag, we had anywhere from 500 to maybe up to 900 used cars at any given time. Okay. And we struggled to get above like 60% of our used cars photographed. It was just a fight all the time to get it done. And I could see where having it be part of the it wasn't part of the reconditioning process for us, and that I think that's where we sort of missed the boat. But if it were part of the reconditioning process and we did have a way to drive through a tunnel in just, like you said, 15 seconds driving through, and that would be quite easy. So the efficiencies in operations there, that's got some value to it. But I think the question that's really being asked in the comments is more like, okay, help me go sell my boss on why we should get a photo booth. How's this going to change our bottom line?
How about an ROI on a photo booth?
Yeah, exactly.
Take that. I don't know this for sure, but I think the average dealer pays between $20 and $25 for a service to come in if he's not having, the porter take pictures. So he has a service come in. It takes them a couple of days to get it online. They might have to touch it and clean it up. That's why it takes a couple of days. So this booth that's shooting 60 cars a day with one operator at $25 a car, that's comes out, let's round it up to $30,000 a month that he's either saving or he would have spent. So on a $50,000 booth, 2 months later, you're in gravy.
I think that's the answer people were looking for.
Good.
I'll add a connector to that. Look at your used car inventory and your new car inventory, and look at the ratio of photographed to non-photographed vehicles. And the longer they sit unphotographed, the harder they are to turn. So if you get a booth that's built to be efficient and help your organization get photographs up quicker, faster, you're going to sell cars quicker, faster. So there's profits from that center also.
And I got to add to that for 1 second. If you're a dealer and you go to an auction to buy a dozen cars, because they're running 300, we have a booth where the auction house runs 300 cars a day. And here's an idea on saving money and speeding up the process. So you hold up your paddle and you buy 12 cars that day. Those pictures go directly to a folder which goes to your website controller or builder, and those pictures from that auction are virtually online for sale at your dealership, and the car hasn't even arrived yet. You're not taking up any space on the lot. That car, if it takes 3 days for the car to get delivered to you, it could be sold. Where's the savings there? You guys know, I think it's $45 a day in some markets to have a car parked in your sales lot. Joe, does that sound at all close?
Yep. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
So that's the
So
photograph.
every day you cut from that is $45 savings.
Got it. Cool.
Yeah. So there's your math, and Rick Buffkin, I'm sure you're taking notes, buddy, because he's asking the question a few times here.
Yeah, Rick, call me. I can help you with that.
And the tunnel's pretty nice, Rick. That's the one I like.
So you're a dealership and you're thinking about going down this route. What kind of space do you need? Do you as a company provide different, because you've been talking about, maybe we had some different solutions.
Let's call them.
Well, even if a dealership's, planning about, potentially doing this in-house, what's some of the first things they need to look for? What are some stumbling blocks that they need to consider?
Sure. I guess we could always consult somebody if they had a corner in their shop somewhere and they wanted to put 2 white walls and a beautiful diffused ceiling and shoot 6 to 10 pictures, or they only had a limited amount of used cars or new cars to put online. But our smallest booth, currently our latest smallest booth, would be basically 25 by 38. 25 by 38, and we like to see 14 feet to the rafter. We're getting pretty standardized, so in the past we could modify some things and work with 12-foot ceilings, but we want 14.
Okay.
And then for a drive-through booth, it's a big undertaking. It's 25 by 60, and our latest shell, which we're putting in for the Suburban collection in Farmington, Michigan, at their prep center, which will hold 6,000. They'll hold 6,000 cars in their parking lot. That booth, I think it's 58 by 25 when the doors are open, because it's beautiful pneumatic doors that open on either end. The car goes in, the doors shut, all by one operator hitting a button. But that's 58 feet when those doors open.
Yeah.
And thank goodness for Suburban, they were early adopters of what we're doing, and they built the building for us for this booth. We consulted with the architects, told them what we needed is power. You need a certain amount of power and all our lighting is LED lighting, by the way.
Okay.
It's super bright and white. And
I was gonna say, why LED lighting and not more of a natural lighting? Why? What's wrong with skylights or some other
you mean
type
skylights in the ceiling, you mean?
Yeah.
Well, because you can't control that light at all.
Okay.
They'll leave dots on the paint.
The other thing, we're using a CRI of 94 for color retention.
Mm-hmm.
That's a color retention index. So you get beautiful reds and great color. You could probably hold a color chip up and it will match the color. But the bright lights, especially for the interior shooting, and in our booth, you have in that booth for Suburban, you have an exterior lighting system, and then you have an interior lighting system. You know, Alex, I sent you some pictures of a silver vehicle, like there's 9 views.
I think Jeff has those.
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like someone to guess and how long it took to expose those 9 views in one of our booths. Anyway, that lighting is important, and bright lights are everything. And longevity. You want the lights to last a long time.
Yeah.
So
okay, here's an example of a
This is one of those examples where maybe someone goes, okay, are these actual photos of the vehicle?
Yeah, that's right. Well,
that's why you have the wire hanging down in the middle, right?
Is that what it is?
Just to prove it. Well, we could put your name. We could put the name
work.
of the dealer in this if we wanted to in the background, and a phone number and all kinds of things. But this is the very first test of a booth that will be done in about a week. So we're just getting the lighting going. This is the very first test. How long do you think those 9 views took to shoot?
Well, I know you're using multiple cameras in there, aren't you?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, I'm going to go. I mean, if you're using multiple cameras, probably just a few minutes, if not multiple cameras. With 1, 2,
How less than a second was it?
All those pictures, and these are just tests now. You can see the lighting looks pretty darn good, if not great. Under 20 seconds. Yeah. That's why after that 20 seconds happens, the operator walks in and shoots what he wants to shoot in the interior and why-by features. That's why in this booth, under 4 minutes, depending on what you're going to shoot in interior and features, under 4 minutes a car.
Speaking of interior, how, like in the tunnel, how would one efficiently shoot interior photos if you're trying?
We don't shoot them in the tunnel at all.
Okay.
We'd have to set. We would set up a separate little space, likely in the conditioning where they're doing the conditioning report. And you would shoot the interiors then. So you get with the tunnel, you get a lot of volume.
Yeah.
So that's why we have 3 or 4 different booths. Again, workflow and volume.
Which I like. I like that because you don't have to train people to just drive a car through. That's
no. In the case of 300 cars a day, they bring in 50 or 70 people for the day. And the way our booth's set up, they look at a green. You'll see it on the site. The green light goes on. The person lifts their foot off the brake, coasts through the booth, and anybody can do that as long as you can keep a straight line, which we've solved that problem by giving an actual straight line to follow. You'd be surprised how many people can't. But that's how it works. It tracks you as you go through. Strategic lights go off and strategic lighting at the same time. So when the profile camera goes off, that's a specific lighting pattern. When the 3/4 front goes off, that's a specific lighting pattern, and that's all controlled by our software.
Yeah, I was going to wonder, if you bring a car in that's maybe of a different color, does your program automatically change? Is it the lighting that changes? Is it something within the camera that changes?
Well, no, the lighting doesn't change for the color at all.
Okay.
We build it to accept all color. So.
Okay.
Obviously, some cars there's more contrast. This car is pretty soft in lighting wise. To me, it's handsome, but a black car would have some real serious contrast. It would look very, very shiny.
Yeah. Now, does this particular booth have? From what I gather, it doesn't have the round table.
No turntable in this booth.
Okay. What are the advantages of turntables?
I guess you could say you could fit it into a smaller area when you have a turntable. You can only have one. You can only have one camera. Maybe that simplifies the process. But I guess it's better for a small space.
Okay.
Well, can we, going back to the tunnel not being one for taking interior images, Joe and I were at dealer.com for a while, and we did a lot of studies on, what angles to shoot from and things like that, because we had a product that stitched the photos together into a video. And we came to find that there weren't that many photos that were needed to actually convert somebody. I think the number was like 7.
I think the key to that, and I'd love to hear Joe's comment on this, the key to that is if you've got, you need a lot of photos if they're not very good. If they're good, clean photos and they're high res, we don't think you need more than 10 pictures.
Really?
15 pictures.
And how important are the interior images in that lineup?
Very important. Very important.
Okay.
And black interiors are difficult to shoot because they absorb all the light. So that's why our lighting system is bright enough so that those black interiors, you can see the shapes in the seats and on the dashboard. I think a lot of people care about the interior pictures.
So you're saying maybe 5 and 5?
Yeah, I would be very happy with, to me, 5 on the outside, and then front seating surface, rear seating surface, IP, trunk, under the hood, and then maybe wheels.
What about photos, up close photos of particular options that the vehicles could potentially have? I know, Alex, who were we just on the phone with? I believe it was Cars, and I believe it was their new program where their algorithm now is able to look at different photos being taken of a particular car and knowing exactly what that option is because of that photo. You follow me?
Image recognition.
Joe can probably answer that one.
Joe. I was talking to Joe, not you, Alex.
Jeff?
Yes.
This is super secret information. I'm going to have to kill you.
Oh, God damn it. Well, then why do I know about it?
Whoever told you I need to kill. So the to connect back to the thread, as a shopper, just give me a quick pass around the outside and give me the most important shots on the inside. And then if I want to go deep, I don't mind clicking to photograph 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 to 32. But so the order that we traditionally do is like a walk around, like a sales rep. Once around the outside, and then go into the front seat, and then explore the dash, and then look at the back, and then go to the trunk, go to the hood. So it's like I believe in the new day that it should be different. Much like what Lund was saying, that it should be the first 7, 10, 12 photographs should be the key ones about the car, and then show the tire tread depth on photograph 43.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good approach to it. I mean, to me, the idea is online, a picture that gets someone up out of their chair and gets a warm body in the showroom so that they can sell them a car.
Yeah.
Unless you're buying it online, of course.
All right. Well, I got a different question for you, Kent.
Hope I got an answer.
What do you get with a $400,000 photo booth?
Well, damn good pictures.
I guess.
Total automation, total control of the imagery and where you're going to put the imagery and what you're going to do with the imagery, and one operator. And really great pictures.
Yeah.
4 minutes.
You own the operator?
No, the beauty of what we do, we've designed the whole thing you could take a porter, and I'm not saying there's anything different or wrong or right about a porter. You can take a entry-level person in your dealership, and in one day we can teach them how to run that booth. Because
of the way everything is set up.
Totally automated. It's foolproof.
Yeah. That's that's a good selling point, I tell you, because let's grant a lot of car dealerships do not hire someone in-house that takes any pride in taking photos of cars.
Thank you very much.
They typically, it's the lot guy. It's maybe, someone needs an internship during the summer, so it's the owner's friend's son. And there's no passion behind it. And I'm not saying there needs to be a ton of passion behind taking photos of cars. But
it shows in the pictures if you have passion, believe me.
It shows in the photos. I mean, I probably shouldn't do this. But you guys,
and some dealers will use a cell phone. Joe, I don't know. Joe, have you seen dealers?
I use an iPhone.
Send somebody out with a cell phone.
I use iPhone.
Okay.
I do. It's just easier. It's more efficient.
Right. More.
We use HomeNet, so we use the HomeNet app.
And you are limited to a certain resolution size by HomeNet, so
exactly
like using a giant camera is going to really benefit.
Which drives me crazy, because there's no reason why we can't step up to a slightly larger res. So I'll just go ahead here real quick. I'm going to share my screen.
Can I throw something in regarding to help? And this is all to help dealers, right? If you're going to put a booth in and you're going to be serious about your pictures and so on, also take a look at your prep center and make sure you can handle, because the volume in your dealership is going to go up with a photo booth. And so your prep center is going to have to follow along and keep up. Mm-hmm. We have had customers that had to pay much more attention to their prep and clean the cars better, because our high-res, well-lit pictures show dirt.
Yeah, definitely, no doubt. I guess that's when you run that thing through a little program that just sort of blurs out that area.
You've got something on the screen here, Jeff?
Yeah, so we've got a lot guy that takes care of our new car photos. I'm not ashamed to say that I take the photos of our pre-owned cars, because I know there's no one here that's going to take the time that it takes. They don't have the keen eye. I touch all the used cars. I help desk the used cars. I know every single used car, and to me, that's a big vantage point, not just for me, but for the dealership and for the salespeople. But here's some quick photos of our new cars. So he's allowed to do our new cars. Whether you disagree or agree with it or not, but these cars are typically a little bit more dime a dozen than what they are pre-owned car. So we get some fuzzy photos in here. We get some off photos. Sometimes I don't even know exactly what he's taking a photo of.
Picture 27.
Well,
yeah. So, I guess it's a sunroof. Yeah.
Oh, is that what that is?
I'm guessing. Yeah.
Well, I see what you've done here, and I'm going to guess you do this to 7 or 8 cars a day?
With new cars, probably 3 or 4.
Okay.
Now I'll jump over.
I get that completely. These look very nice for what you're doing and how you're in their high-end cars. So all I'm saying is where the booth comes in, or at least our booth comes in, is the speed, the accuracy, the consistency, and one guy doing it quick. So if you've got to do 30 of these a day, that would be a reason to have a booth, I guess.
Oh my goodness, yeah.
But 6 or 7 a day, obviously you can do that.
Yeah. And again, this is just new. Now here's our pre-owned. These are the ones that I've taken.
And you're doing better than the average by far.
Even with our new?
Yeah, this looks nice.
And they actually make me a little nauseous in my stomach. So But here's our here's our pre-owned. More consistency. And of course, I've got typically anywhere from 5 to 6 exterior, and then I go into 4 or 5 interior, back out to exterior, and then the rest is pretty much interior.
Right.
Image 11, Jeff. Image 11 is an example of a sunny day on an interior photograph, where the contrast between the bright seats and the dark dash.
Yeah, you're right, Joe. And those shadows, you can't even see the radio, or hardly can. Maybe you can when you go in close, but
yeah.
Right.
It's a sunny day. There's no doubt about it.
That's what we're talking about. Yep. That when you do your interior shots, try to find the shaded part of the building, and I think you'll have better luck.
Yeah, no doubt. I work with what I can. I work with what I got.
By the way, guys, as we're passing the 1 hour mark, I
feel like we haven't even touched the surface.
Well, I wanted to point something out on Kent's behalf. You go to Kent's website, you see some pretty significant booths, and I was under the impression when I first went there that they were doing these super high end booths, and he has some offerings that are for somebody who doesn't have the giant budget for the booth.
Yeah, we're definitely, and I know the site does indicate, and of course we're very proud of that, because that's real high end. And of course, that's when you do the real high end stuff, we bring that to the party. That's our small booth, one of our small booths, by the way, with the turntable. But when you bring something like that to the party, we can bring the same expertise and technology to a small booth for smaller volume. And anybody who wants to know about smaller booths for an individual dealer, we have a solution, and they just have to contact me, and I'll get into that with them. I guess really we love to see what I call, or what I think in the industry you call, a cluster group. Penske contacted us a couple of years ago because they had a cluster group in Southern California, and they wanted to do a booth that all 6 or 8 dealers could use. And that's where okay, so you spend $150,000. The ROI pays off pretty quick when 6 dealers are using it. They don't have to have the service. They're shooting. Hell, if they want to shoot 24 hours a day, they could. So, yes, I know the site indicates some big work and big fancy stuff, but we can do smaller stuff too. Thank you for asking that. Thank you for asking, Alex.
Yeah, no worries. I felt like I was painting a picture that you guys were $400,000 booths, and that was the only option. I just wanted to make that.
So looking at this photo real quick, I mean, this does, how much space does this take up?
That's a 40-foot circle.
Okay. And what's the average price on this one right here? Is this one of your more expensive?
Yes,
that was only $350.
Okay.
Yeah.
To a certain extent, our booths are almost like a car, used to be. There are options. You want, in a tunnel, for instance, do you want 4 views, 4 cameras, or do you want 20 cameras?
Okay.
Or this is 1 camera. You notice in the left there's a monitor there? Okay, perfect. That monitor is showing you that all those pictures were taken accurately, so you can rest assured you got all your pictures. If there was a blank spot there, you'd go, uh-oh, something went wrong. Nothing goes wrong here. This is all the pictures taken. I think it's 3 or 4 minutes.
I love it. I mean, if you're a smaller group, or even of a larger group, and you're sort of located within the same vicinity, $350,000 to have a booth like this, and
this is more than 350. I don't want to.
Okay.
Alex said that because I think he was being fun.
Yeah.
But no, this is more than that, and this is one of our flagships for sure.
Okay. But either way, I mean, if you're a large group and you're sort of centrally located. And to be able to run all your inventory through something like this, I mean, the efficiency, the consistency.
Oh yeah, that's what it's all about. That's our genre. I mean, that's our marching orders. And you just mentioned something interesting. See that car? That car is very pretty. See the horizon line we talked about earlier? But imagine it says Jones Nissan in the background, and that's a brand new car that just was purchased at your dealership by a very excited new owner, and you send that picture or a dozen of those pictures to his or her cell phone, and they send it out to 20 of their friends bragging about their new car, and then those friends send it out to people jealous of that new car, but every picture says Jones Nissan. It's advertising.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
There's a tunnel, by the way. That if you backed up there, Jeff, that's the tunnel.
Okay.
And then after the car goes through there, I think there's 9 photos there. Again, if one camera malfunctioned, which really is rare, it would say that it malfunctioned. All you do is go around the block, come back in, drive right back through.
And then for interior photos, this car gets pulled out, and then you take your interior photos
somewhere else. Yes.
Is that all still a part of your program, your software?
Oh, yeah, we can set aside an area for shooting, and we can build an area for shooting features, and usually you put it near the recon center.
How do you feel about you've got some services out there that allow dealerships to sort of take their photos anywhere, but then they do like this background, they superimpose the background.
Sure. Yeah.
Whether with the dealership's name.
Right.
Again, sometimes I find those to be a little chintzy looking and almost look fake.
Often look fake.
Yeah, yeah. What's your take on that?
Just what you said. They often look fake. And why take away from this beautiful sheet metal on this car and the person who's caring about the car? Who cares if it's in Hawaii or Florida? When you're in Toledo buying the car, I don't think it matters.
Agreed.
There's an example there of it going through the tunnel. And we have, by the way, we have a great leasing options. When you're spending over 400 or 100, we have a leasing options. So it makes
is this a lease or a lease to buy?
It could be a lease to buy, sure.
Okay.
The technology is moving very quickly. Leasing makes sense. We can come in, and if some new technology comes on, it's going to improve your booth. We could do that. It'd be nice with a lease. The enterprise portal is an interesting approach too. You're running your booth. We look at it every day if you want, or once every 3 days, and we see a glitch, or we see that lights burned out, which rarely happens now with LED. We can contact you and say, hey, that left bank light is burned out. It's dark on that side. Or if one of the shots is fuzzy because someone didn't clean the lens on the camera and it's got a cobweb on it, we'll see it and we can fix it. Going back to something you said, Jeff, about people caring or not caring about taking those pictures, we find that some people, even though you give them a list of maintenance, they don't do it. So we offer a really comprehensive maintenance contract.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I mean, there's more that goes into, and to me, this isn't about photographing a car. This is about merchandising. And, we had Jason Rice on not too long ago. I'm sure you're familiar. And, when it comes down to the number one, I mean, when you walk into a dealership that's sort of maybe struggling, you start looking at the 101. And one of the quickest things that you can do to help turn around a dealership is merchandising. Great photos. Number one, great photos. Vehicle descriptions, which someone just brought this, someone just started this whole topic on the Refresh forums this morning around vehicle descriptions. Are vehicle descriptions important anymore? Alex, you said something about you have to go. If you have to go, we'll continue on here for a few minutes.
I'm happy to do it. I do want to elaborate on something when you talk about good photos. We talked earlier about what do good photos do. Alex, I sent you an example. I think it was three vehicles, an HHR, maybe a BMW, a black BMW. And
I think Jeff has everything to.
he does. Okay. Okay.
Unfortunately, I got to jump off,
Alex,
guys.
thank you.
Yeah, we see how important we are. Go ahead, Alex. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks so much.
Yeah.
All right. Go sell some cars. Anyway, what I was going to say about the value of pictures is we had a very small dealer in a suburban area of Detroit who couldn't understand why his picture, he had built a room, much like many dealers do, and Joe, you brought this up. You know, everybody thinks they can build a booth and throw a bunch of lights at it and it's going to look great. And it wasn't working for him. So the owner of the company and the creator of the booths, Davo, went out there, looked it over, made an assessment, gave him a diffused ceiling. He couldn't increase the size of the room, but that's why I wanted to bring those pictures up if you got it. But he gave him a beautiful, clean pictures. So in relation with that question about what do pictures do, a couple months later, he calls and says, my God, my sales are up. People are driving 2 hours to see my vehicles because the pictures are so nice. And when someone drives 2 hours, they usually buy the car. So that's where great pictures came in for him.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well, and I've always seen that, you know, you think about eBay, if eBay ever started a trend of purchasing vehicles sight unseen minus the photo, that's typically where that started. I was just on the phone with a good friend that's part of a larger group, and yesterday, and we were talking about his competition with Carvana. And, you know, I was like, well, the reality is any dealership can compete with Carvana if they decide that they want to.
Absolutely.
The reality is they could probably crush them if they wanted to. It's just all a matter of decision making. But, you know, we've been taking photos of our cars for a long time. But for whatever reason, dealerships still struggle with investing time and money into merchandising their vehicles, especially when it comes down to fantastic, great photos and you know, putting money behind something like this. And obviously you run into this all the time. If there was a dealership that wanted to set up, let's say you have a dealership, and maybe you haven't answered this, maybe you don't. Let's say you've got a dealer group that's got 5 or 6 dealerships. They're all sort of in the same area, within driving distance of maybe 5 to 10 minutes. You wanted to have one centralized location to be able to do all your photos and your merchandise for those vehicles.
Right.
Have you done any math to find out how long it would take for that ROI to make sense?
Well, as I said earlier, let's say you've got 5 dealers close together. Most dealerships are not on the most expensive property in the world. They try to find less expensive property to build their dealership on. So in the back of the dealership, you've got space for cars, and sometimes you've got a lot of space. Yeah, you can put up a $20,000 steel building and make that photo central. That's the photo processing center now for 5 dealers. You got a $20,000 building, you got a $125,000 booth or more, but you got 70, 100 cars going through a day, and you're as a dealer been paying $25 a car for cars, you know, pictures that take 2 days to get online. They're not, you're depending on weather. They're not as good and crisp and clean. Why not pay whoever is the smart guy of those 5 dealers to put it in and charge everybody else? Again, 60 cars a day is $30,000 a month.
Yeah.
There's the ROI, you know. And, you know, basic. I mean, if you go 300 cars, that's of course a bigger number.
Yep.
I've seen, and countless times, that dealers buy the trickiest photo booth that they could build, and they put in a turntable, and it's super sexy, and they have they're still a great percentage of their inventory isn't photographed. And what good is this investment in the photo booth if you're unable, because the process is so cumbersome, you're unable to get the work done. So what was really interesting to me that shocked me about Kent's product is that it's just not a house that contains lights. It's a system.
Yeah.
And that system is turnkey. Like any laborer that you've got with a day's training can be producing the best photographs in your marketplace.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and I'll touch on that for a minute. You brought up something important. I'm in Detroit. We you're in Iowa somewhere and you want to do this. Okay, we send you a kit. It's kitified, if that's a correct word, like an IKEA project. All the parts are numbered. There's a build book, a process to assemble the shell or assemble the tunnel. You can have your own favorite contractor do it, and then we'll come in when you're done and set up the lighting, the cameras, the software. Or we will actually, if you don't want to do that at all, and you want it to be turnkey, you just send us a deposit check. We send all the stuff. Our crew shows up and does everything from the first layout to the final picture, and a day or two of training to your people. But the whole idea for us is definitely consistent, system, fast.
What would you say to a dealership that says, hey, I can do this myself to some degree?
I hear that quite a bit.
Of course you do. And they want to maybe, put up a tent. Maybe they're in decent climate. Not always the best, but maybe their winters are short. Is that something you would encourage? Or, I mean, I didn't realize that you offered the service to say, hey, build what you want to build. We'll come in, we'll consult, and we'll say, hey, this is where you need to do from a photo aspect, from a technology aspect, et cetera.
Oh, Jeff, that's a little bit soft right there. You said, build what you want to build, and we'll come in and no.
Well, I'm not talking about building a shack.
Well, anything. We will consult on your construction on our product. I mean, in a pinch, if you have a big white room, we can just tell you over the phone by looking at it, your radiuses are wrong, your lights are wrong, so on. I mean, we want to let you build our kit, and then we'll make it run, or we'll come in and do it, and make it run. We'll do everything.
What about building codes? A lot of different areas you've got to have building codes.
Very good questions. We work with municipalities because everybody has different codes.
Yep.
One of our competitors, I might add, that uses a particular material over the booth and blows their lights through it.
Mm-hmm.
They were just setting up in a different municipality than we're in, and the fire marshal said, you can't use that diffusion cloth up there. It's got a melting point of 120 degrees. Well, that's nothing.
Yeah.
But now they've got their whole booth in there, and they're supposed to have the diffusion in, and they can't put it in because the local municipality wouldn't let them. So we work with, everybody's got different codes, and we'll work with those codes. And one of the important one is fire suppression.
Yeah.
A lot of the fire marshals will come in and say, wait a minute. So we've really figured out the kind of heads to put inside the booth that are almost invisible. Unless there's a fire, then they explode with water, and that's what you want them to do. So we experienced that and handled it.
So the reality is, once you start digging into this, there is a lot more involved than just throwing up a tent or a building, throwing up some lights.
Yes.
And there's probably things that dealerships wouldn't even think about.
That's correct.
Such as the coating, such as electric, such as the list goes on. Yeah,
I could remove a gallbladder. I mean, I know how to cut and remove a gallbladder, but there's a lot to that I don't.
But they might not survive.
That's right, and I might not do it right because I don't know the idiosyncrasies of doing it right. So and that's probably a poor analogy, but it's an analogy. So
No. Yes and
A scenario that I like to use is, let's say you were going to put a swimming pool in the back of your house.
there we go.
And you're looking around trying to find a contractor and to see the quality of the work of the pool and the landscaping. And we've got two contractors, and one's using the wrong lighting, the wrong camera, the wrong time of day, and it's foggy and not, it's not sharp, not high res. And the other guy is it's photographed by a professional. You can tell. And that motivates somebody to let go of the low res pool guy and buy the high res pool guy. The same thing goes with cars.
Yeah.
People assume that because of the high quality of the photograph, that everything else in the dealership is high quality. So
there you go. That's
fantastic. Well, and something that
boom.
something that burns me though is there's so many vendors out there, third-party sites and dealership websites that still restrict the resolution of the photos of our vehicles.
right.
And it drives me crazy. So, we can spend a ton of money, doing something like this, only to find out that, this listing site will only accept this resolution. Your own dealership website will only accept this resolution. And I'm thinking, it's 2019. You mean to tell me we can't have dealership websites that are showing a much higher resolution? And I can point out to a few different listing sites. I won't do that today. They know who they are. That still are only providing, what is the resolution? 748 by something, Joe, you probably know. And it's like, I'm taking a lot of time. I spend a lot of money in order to be able to showcase the best photos of our vehicles out there. And what good is it, because it's not being showcased.
It's a two-edged knife, Jeff. Be careful, be careful what you wish for. As the resolution goes way up, everything that's wrong with your photograph goes way up. So but like we said before, we want to build that transparency, and I'd rather show some of those imperfections on the vehicles. I'm talking about the photographic imperfections.
Gotcha.
So as the photo resolution goes up, then you can start to see the iPhone's weaknesses.
Gotcha.
Then you can start to see the lighting, and then this horizon that.
Although I tell you, Joe, I've seen. Let's agree. You get a newer iPhone or a newer Galaxy, or the new Google phone. My goodness, the photos that they take. And I know we've had this discussion on the forums before. Should we be using iPhones or should we be using a high-end camera? And I don't know the real answer to that.
Maybe Kent does.
Well, we like Canon T7s.
Okay.
Canon T7.
You like let's stick with a much more high-end photo or camera, and let's get the best photos out there.
Well, you're also talking about thousands of clicks.
Yeah.
And you want a reliable lens or shutter.
Yep.
And we've even used cameras without shutters. Davo would not want me to tell you the name of this, but a camera is without a shutter that's a surveillance camera. So that it can take 10,000 or 50,000 clicks.
Well, Ken, I believe we just probably hit the record for one of the longest Refresh Fridays. We're hitting on an hour and a half here, which I knew we would. This is, again, having a thread on Dealer Refresh that's over 10 years old and 15 plus pages long. This has always been a very important, very engaging topic. If you had a walk-away list for dealerships after today, what would be the top 3 or 5 things that you would say to a dealership that's considering going down this route of building out a photo booth?
My,
Other than, of course, giving you a call.
and that's very important to call me. I'd love to talk to him. You know, you consider your space, your height, who you're going to have run it.
Mm-hmm.
Find a young woman or a young man that's interested in good pictures and in photography. Pay him a little over a minimum wage if you wish, and then give them a bonus.
Mm-hmm.
Give them $1 a car for every car they get online that gets sold. There's a nice incentive.
Yeah, definitely.
And get us involved early in the project. If you're building a building or a dealership, we work readily with the architect. They'll want to know power. They'll want to know height, width, distance, placement of doors. We love to get involved in that stuff right off the bat. We have an in-house architect. By the way, we have 10 very dedicated employees that work hard and think out of the box to get stuff done. Very, very good group.
So if you're going to, if the dealership does decide to take this project on their own, basically reconsider that.
Well, Joe, let me ask you, Joe. You said one of your colleagues at one time mentioned that we were too expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe, you said you built 3 booths to get your final thing. So you spent a certain amount of money doing that, and you lost a certain amount of time perfecting it. Yes. Would you say that it makes kind of sense to get somebody who's really good at it to do it?
Yeah, I'm on the record. I've been through 3 iterations. Takaputo, my dealer principal, and I knew that photos sell cars, and he wanted to produce the best photo booth he could.
Yep.
And then I hit the end of my abilities. I just couldn't think of anything else to make it any better.
Right.
We hired a photo design specialist. We got lucky and found one, and it just completely changed everything. But I would like to say something. I went to look for a photo booth design specialist on Google. Forget about it. I mean, Todd's contractor was on a flight, and the guy sitting next to him happened to be a photo booth specialist guy. It's like, so unless that serendipity had happened, it never would have happened.
Yeah, that's some true serendipity. Joe, before we close out, it's always a pleasure having you on board. Is there anything that you would add to the conversation?
Photo sells cars. Photo sells cars. Photo sells cars.
Videos. Where are we at with videos? Do videos sell cars? Are we there yet? Is it time to do walk around videos? Like I said, I tested this out. I was working with a company that did walk around videos. Now, allow me to differentiate. There are, hey, I'm a salesperson. I just got a lead on this car. I'm going to grab a phone. I'm going to go grab an app. I'm going to introduce myself and do walk around video of this car. That's not what I'm talking about. That, to me, that's completely different. That absolutely has value to it. What I'm referring to is you've got this photo booth.
Allow me to explain or work on it. So for our dealer friends who are up to their eyeballs in all things cars, we can't see the obvious.
Yeah.
So if you were to flip it and say, let's say you were going to drop 100 G's on a swimming pool, which is like a high-end car, wouldn't it be a special and bonding experience to have the general contractor do the walk around and talk to the concerns and layout and things that are important and things to think about and things that I take care of for you and things you don't have to worry about. Mm-hmm. And that kind of, you don't think of video trying to impact the masses. You think of the video to impact the buyer, buyer, a single human being. Resonate with that person with a message that is for them, not for you. And I really, really think video is completely underexplored.
So we're on the same page. Use the video as a one-to-one communication. Use that app.
Well, you can do you can do a video on a VDP or a model specific landing page. So you can take one of your brands and do a complete trim walkthrough to try to help. So let's say I've never had a Mercedes in my entire life. The highest end car I've ever owned is a Buick, right? So
I'll send you one, Joe.
Thank you. And I let's say I just fell into some money, and I want to know why. What's the magic of Mercedes?
Yeah.
Talk to me. And so video can work. It works here. Look at the people that are stuck to this video.
I know. Here we are doing video.
It works.
Gentlemen, I really appreciate that. Like I said, this is one that's always been true to my heart. So I knew we were going to go over our past, but from the looks at it, everyone's still sticking in there. We still have plenty of questions. Alex usually administrates that, but I'm going to go back through. I encourage you, Joe and Kent, to go through this session. Look at the questions being asked. We'll bring this over to the Dealership Refresh forums, and we'll also get this over on YouTube, and we'll wrap it up for the day. And as always, we'll be back here next Friday.
Looking forward to it. You guys do a great job. Thanks very much for having us.
Thank you so much, Kent and Joe. We'll talk soon.
Thank you. Great work, Kent.
Thank you, Joe. I appreciate your input on this, Joe. Thank you very much.
All right. Speak to you gentlemen soon. Hey, make it a great Memorial Day weekend.
Yeah.
Let's go sell some cars.
All right. Let's go do it, Joe. All right. Bye-bye.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Yep.